This is Andrea Szabo reporting to you from RosterDoc.com. Targets are a stat that often gets overlooked when you're planning your draft. Today we are going to look at specifically the red zone target numbers for wide receivers. This should help you on draft day to find guys that are more likely to score touchdowns. Today I'm going to name for you the 5 top targeted red zone wide receivers from 2011. Number 5 is Pierre Garcon, who had 20 red zone targets as a member of the Indianapolis Colts. Most of them came from Curtis Painter, so the upgrade to RG3 is a welcomed one. It's hard to see Garcon as a red zone threat in Washington, where tight end Fred Davis and running back Roy Helu should see a lot of short yardage throws. Number 4 is Brandon Marshall with 21 red zone targets. That number is a lock with the rise to move to Chicago. And more importantly, back to the QB who made him a star, Jay Cutler. The Bears are lacking in quality receivers, so Marshall should see a return to glory across the board. Number 3 is a tie for 22 red zone targets. It is between Jabbar Gaffney and Plaxico Burress. Burress is currently without a team, and that's unlikely to change before preseason starts. If he does find a new team, then he will be worth the look because of his red zone ability. He can be an asset in touchdown-heavy leagues. Gaffney's an interesting case. He had 5 red zone touchdowns last season and set a career high in yards and receptions. Now he goes back to New England with Tom Brady in a system he's familiar with. He's a guy you want to take later in your draft, but he's an excellent bye-week filler. It's kind of interesting that the 4 last players I mentioned, they all changed teams in the offseason. So we move on to number 2, where Wes Welker continues to enhance his game. In 2011, he had 23 red zone targets, with a league-leading 20 receptions plus 7 touchdowns. Now, I think Giselle was hoping for some of this in the Super Bowl. The Patriots added Gaffney and Brandon Lloyd, but Wes Welker will still be Brady's main man. Number 1 is a tie at 27 between Calvin Johnson and Roddy White. Calvin Johnson is going to lead the NFL in many receiving categories for years to come. Enough said. Roddy White scored 7 of his 8 touchdowns from the red zone. Now that's an interesting stat because many people think that White's on the decline as Julio Jones rises. White is bound to be overlooked on draft day, but he's still going to be the Falcons' number 1 targeted wide receiver. White led the NFL with 174 targets last season. He's still going to be a top 5 fantasy option. And those are your top 5 targeted red zone wide receivers. Thank you for watching. This is Andrea Szabo with RosterDoc.com. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and check out my other blogs.